What's up, everybody? How you doing? It's Mike Watson, and we're back again with another stellar episode of Chat and Draw. Just to give you a little information on who I am, I'm your host. I'm hosting this show, but I'm also known as the publisher of Short Fuse Media Group, founder of Freestyle Komics, aka the Super Mad Brother, one half of the good, the bad, and the nerdy, but the most enthusiastic person in comics. That's what I do. That's who I am. That's who I be. Today is a little extra special episode of Chat and Draw. You could call it the all freestyle comics edition of Chat and Draw, as we're going to be drawing Hotshot pages live today off of Hotshot number 10. Because I'm excited to get that out to y'all's hands and stuff right now. So, without further ado, we're going to get ready to go in here, and as soon as my computer unfreezes up, because everything was working fine up until this moment, and we're going to bring up our, or are we? Excuse me. I'm having a bit of some technical issues. It looks like it's froze up on my screen because it won't do anything, but it looks like it's moving on y'all's end. Come on. Okay, there we go. We're back.
Here comes a new challenger.
What's up?
What's up? We got Danny
Is it
Cooper.
working?
Yeah. Had a little snafu. I don't know. It froze up for a minute. We got Danny Cooper, editor-in-chief, head letterer, and writer at Freestyle Komics.
Do I get to claim the writer piece yet until we publish my first issue?
You get to claim it.
Okay, I'll claim
it. Shout out to Jason, repping from Northern Illinois. He's down here at the Naval Base, down there at the Great Lakes of Illinois. Shout out, Jason. Glad to have you with us today. John Scooter Robinson's in the building with us today, guys. How you doing, John? Fantastic writer himself. Writer, creator of a little series you might know as Scorpio.
There we go.
All right. So, Danny Cooper, I gave you a nice little introduction. But tell the people who you are and what do you do?
All right. Well, we're kind of the powers that be at Freestyle Komics. I am currently editor-in-chief of FSK, responsible for a lot with that title. So not just overseeing all the books and titles that we're producing, but also engaged on the letter side. And as Mike so graciously called me, one of the writers, I consider aspiring writer until we publish the book, but one of the writers for Heroes International going forward, as well as Basement of Doom. I think that kind of covers the high level of everything.
All right. So today we're giving people an exclusive look behind the scenes at, putting this issue together. Layouts are all done. And it's been crazy with the virus, quarantine and everybody. I know it's your day gig. You've been slammed with a lot of work.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've been on the opposite side of a lot of people where, I know a lot of people have had to go to work from home, which during my day job, I've been working from home for 3 years already. So there really was no change for me, just kind of the normal BAU. But COVID-19 has played, it's run rampant globally, and I've paid the price for that. And I've been working a crazy amount of hours. And I know you've had these layouts. I put together a nice schedule of due dates and everything of when this book was due for layouts. And I missed every single one of my deadlines I set for myself. I'm going to go ahead and take the excuse and blame COVID-19 for that, though. Definitely throw a monkey wrench in things.
No, I think that's definitely where we're at. That stopped slowed down a lot of things that we had going on that we were looking forward to doing and stuff like that. But as we go, and here comes that issue that I was still trying to figure out. I'm still trying to figure out what pencil works for me on this thing.
Okay.
But as we go, we're going to keep it moving. This book is still going to get through. And today we're giving everybody a special look at the inside of Hotshot and working it out. Danny, I believe we did some editorial work on this first page, and something that I've come to find out is that a lot of people were surprised that you and I jump into the editorial on the actual layout pages. Why do you think, or can you explain that to everybody why we do that?
Well, I think that, we've adopted that as our requirement going forward with every book we produce, because we've done it the opposite way in the past, where I know I was brought in the past as the editor once a lot of production was already finished on a lot of titles. And we encountered a lot of different stuff where it's like, wait, this isn't right. This character should be here. There's not enough room for all of this dialogue. There's a lot of those basic mistakes that we could have caught much earlier in the process if we started doing this work at the layout stage. So I think part of it has been trial and error. Part of it has been, as you go through changes of producing books, you have different people involved as you go through that production. You get to a point where you get to the end and you may find something. So we do all that work up front now. We do the best we can to go through a very strict editorial process on our layouts. I mean, it starts with the script. And even really before that, we've talked through where we want to take the story, what our story arcs are going to be, the goals of the plots. I know we've had talks about this current story arc, what the plan is, and then going through and making sure each script actually follows along and meets those goals. Are we still going in the direction we want? Is there a better way? Can we achieve more by making some changes based on what we just initially wanted to do? And then, the layout stage is just a part of that. So we go through those edits, and then same thing, I think doing a lot of that work up front saves you some work as you get through pencils and inks. Not to say that you don't need to make changes, but I think you save a lot of time up front. And I mean, we've definitely been in a position where we've gone back and we've had a completely finished page with letters, and we've said, you know what? There's a better way to let's change this up and go this direction. And actually, let me grab this real quick. I've got a good example of that, of how we've sat down with finished books. I've got the script here for Vigilance #2, where we went through and, I printed out the pages, and you can see, let me find a good example here. You can see my notes in here as we went through, and I think we had a very solid story to begin with. And I think that what we were able to do, I mean, fully lettered, completely finished book. We took, and I don't know if you can see my notes there. I printed this out. In my opinion, this is the hard way to do things. I came in late as the editor and just went through and chopped the book up and really, challenged the creative team, and came back and said, I think if we go this route, we're going to have a stronger story. It's a better setup. And, that we've done that. But again, that's in my opinion, the hard way to do things. It's a lot easier if we do it up front, starting with the plot, script, and then the layout stage. And for you, Mike, with your layouts, what everyone can see here that you're actually drawing right on top of is actually the layouts, the finalized layouts that we went through.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, is it the first actual, I know you've been doing a lot of pinup work and things like that through the iPad. So is this the first actual page you've penciled? And I know you mentioned you're struggling with the right brush or tool that you want to use, but is this the first actual page you've drawn on the iPad?
No, I got another page that is partially done. I'm 4 panels in on it, but I figured I'd kind of jump around today, just showing some different stuff. Actually, I want to see if I can pull back. So I've got a folder created on here that is nothing but the for the pencils, which are just the grayed out layouts. And then if you go to the layouts, I got a folder just for layouts here. And actually, that page does not change too much from what was in the original script. Hold on. Layouts. Yeah, it does not change. But these pages here, these are actual pages that we went through in detail and changed. So I'm gonna hop around and just, this is everybody's one chance to get this behind the scenes of what's going on with this book. But Danny's right. Which is funny because Danny wants me to ink the book. I'm perfectly fine with the pen that I found the ink with on on Procreate,
So
but I am still trying to find the right pencil, and I think it's a matter of I really want my pencils to be as clean as they are when I'm drawing them manually, but maybe that's not something that I can go for. Maybe and I like I said, I'm jumping around. I'll show you what I got for pencils done so far as well. But what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, so that page 3, do you have the original layout that we did for or the layout that you had for page 3? I think it'd be a
Yeah.
good way to show some, kind of what we've gone through. And I know you've posted some of this in the past. But I think it's a good example of some of the things we've gone through, when we go through the editorial. I'll give you a second there I don't know if you were going to pull that up, but page 3 was a really good example of, looking at your page turns and going back and saying, you know what, let's make a change here, because I think we can benefit, let's take this last panel off page 3. Let's move that to the beginning of page 4. Let's spread this out. And now we have a really strong page turn. You've got, I don't know if I've got a delay. I think I'm looking at the wrong screen, but
There's a 10-second delay from StreamYard.
Okay. That's what it is. All right. So yeah, we spread out on page 3, and now we've got this huge power blast. Reader doesn't know what Hotshot's charging up to blast. So stuff like that is what we kind of go through, and going through the layouts, it's much easier to. There we go. So perfect example. We've got.
You got the script. Danny J. Quick wants us to read the part of the script that goes with the page.
Oh yeah. Let me give me a second here. I'll pull it up on my tablet.
Jason, yes, there is more. There is definitely more stealth coming. Oh yeah, there's some more stealth coming. We're looking forward to bringing out some more stuff. Ren McKenzie says, "What's up, Danny Cooper and that other guy?" I guess that's me.
Oh, hey Ren, you like this shirt? Just for everyone that wants to know, this is a Ren McKenzie special. Ren, go ahead and drop for anyone that would be interested where they could find your shop to get one of your shirts. Let me see here. I can find my drive.
He's pulling up the script, and Danny Cooper needs to be acknowledged for that as well, because Danny Cooper loves a page turn reveal.
Oh yeah, and I think that's something that I've adopted. Like I think everyone has their own tools when they try to write, and I'll say as a newer, I still consider myself an aspiring writer. One of the things that I like to do is I have a grid that I've based out, and it's literally, when I start plotting out how I want the issue to be, I have it broken down where the grid on the right-hand side is my page 1, and everything on that right-hand side. So, I want to make sure that I'm accounting for those page turns so that as I flow to the next page, it helps me see, all right, so this is exactly how it's going to fall. Unless we throw ads in there, this is how it's going to fall in the book. Let's make sure we account for that page turn.
Right. All right, so this is the original page 3 based off the original script.
Yeah, so I'm still pulling this up here. Bear with me. But as you can see here in these last 2 panels, we've got this really nice charge up. I like the energy in the face. And then, again, I think, Danny, you mentioned earlier, spoiler alert, you see Hotshot go back for this big charge up and then nothing. You can tell by the look of shock and awe on his face that nothing happened. And I think we wasted a very big page turn there. So, I went back to Mike. I was like, all right, let's change this. Let's take these last 2 panels, where we've got the charge up. Let's make that 3 panels. Let's then make that a bit more dramatic. We could tell a bit more of the story. Panel, which would be panel 7. You've got the charge up in the hand. Panel 8, you can see the intensity in his chest. At 9, you get all that emotion on his face. Page turn, nothing. Much better payoff in that approach.
Yeah, I got the edited page up, actually, the pencils now.
Okay.
All right, so let that load up. Yeah, so this is what the pencils are looking like for me on the iPad right now. And these are the first 3 panels, panel 1, 2, 3 on page 3.
It's definitely got a feeling like you're using a super hard, it goes from like a super hard lead to a very, very soft lead.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. I think I'm just trying to find something that gives me more of a point so I can get some more tapered edges with my pencil lines. That's what I'm not getting, and that's what I'm missing. So that's going to be a little bit more experimentation. But I'm happy with this. I'm just nitpicking now. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
I do want to taper off some more stuff. All right, so those are the first 3 panels.
I'm sure you'll clean it up once you get your inks on top of it.
Yeah, so Gary will be he'll be happy to clean all that up.
Oh, you're just gonna dismiss me. Okay.
All right, so in the first panel, Hotshot is knocked back down to the floor. We got IT in the background, just watching. Hotshot doesn't even realize he's there. In this dark hallway, Hotshot immediately shoots up, getting ready to fire his fist, full of determination. And then in this next panel, he hits the door, and the door does not budge. I mean, he just, I've been trying to get my little My Hero Academia inspiration on with these speed streaks in the fist and stuff like that, or anime influence anyway. And I'm real happy with that shoe. I'm real happy with that calf and that shoe right there.
Mike is one that falls in love with like the oddest things in a panel, and in no means wants to make any changes. All right, so we got the page 3 line script up here. So I don't know if you want me to read through that. We can go panel by panel, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so panel 1, and keep in mind part of the flow of this is it's a bit different from the change or what we see in panel 2. But I think first thing, do you want to explain who that is that's standing over Hotshot's right shoulder?
IT is a new character that we introduced back in issue 9 of Hotshot. He has presented himself as the person that fixes what Hotshot is. He has never met anyone like Hotshot that is broken to the degree that he is. So that's all we're gonna say about him. But he is kind of like his spirit person that follows him around. And some people are probably going to say, because they got issue 9, well, he looks completely different from the character we introduced in 9. And that's because I decided to make IT my brother-in-law who passed away a little bit ago. And it was my little homage to him and putting him in the book because, he was a real cool dude and I loved him a lot. And he was a big-ass geek just like us. So, so that's it. Okay, we're going to move on from that. Go ahead, Danny.
Okay. So panel 1. We got Mike costume is now on him, and he's anxious with fear. He's punching the door, not a scratch. So as you can tell, obviously, one of the nice things I think with Mike as being the writer as well as the illustrator, we have the ability for him to make changes based on what is actually right here in the script. So we've got far more of a emotion in this panel now with the change of him just kind of sitting there in shock. So if you scroll on over, let's see here. Let me get my Facebook page out of the way. All right, so we've got basically panel 2 is he punches again, nothing happens, and you've got Mike in the background yelling to IT for help. Hammers on the door, it does not budge, which is panel 3. We get to panel 4. He fires a blast at it and it bounces off. Same thing, he's calling out to IT. He remembers the power from back in issue 2. So anyone that's read issue 2 knows that there is definitely a very strong power level that Hotshot possesses, but he still doesn't quite understand why he has it or how to access that power. We've got panel 6. He pulls back. I love the actual reference to Ryu Hadouken motion, which is exactly what we get here. We get that from behind. And then, one of the things I also like, Mike, is that, you're not focusing on, not every angle of this is from the front, I think showing Hotshot from behind, pulling back, you get a more interesting angle there. And then, originally it called for panel 7. He's now crying, whispering, come on, please, as he holds it back, charging it up. Panel 8, he throws it forward as much strength as he can muster. 9, nothing happens. So as you can tell, this grid, what Mike laid out for himself in this grid has completely changed to at least on panels 1, 2, have changed, and then 7, 8, and 9 have completely changed. Again, we made sure to take advantage of that page turn by spreading out 7, 8, 9 into one full panel and giving that payoff of that big charge up of nothing happening on page 4.
Exactly. Which, after going through our little session, I absolutely agree with what Danny was saying on the page. So we can get that. We want, because this is going to be an emotional issue, or that's the target. That's the goal. I want this to be an emotional issue. Ren said he's watching this on his TV. That is dope.
Nice.
We're the whole idea of it, and if you've been watching the show or you've been watching Dear Creative, you know my objective with this new story arc is to put Hotshot through it. He's going to earn some stripes in this one, so it's going to be a very as much as Hotshot is going to be going through some stuff, the Mike is going to be going through stuff in this issue as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't mind using this to fill in and stuff like that, but I still want to kind of like, I want to find a better pencil to taper this stuff off with. But this is also the problem that I'm finding with it is that I can zoom in with this pencil.
Nice.
So let's talk about the reason why we went with the change at the bottom 3 panels, Danny, for that, the importance of that page turn.
Well, I think, the page turn in general, you want the reader to, if it's the flow of your pages, you want there to be the subconscious direction and line that leads your reader from one panel to the next. You want to make sure that your motion and direction in this specific page where you get a 9-panel grid. Shout out to Victor Dandridge, who loves the 9-panel grid, and the Samaritan, which was an entire 9-panel grid story. You want to make sure that you're flowing from one panel to the next. So you want 3 to flow down to 4, and your motion should be there. And the same thing goes for what's not entirely on that page. You want to make sure that page ends on a cliffhanger, because you want your reader to flow through that and get to a point where you're like, oh, what happens next? And they flip the page. I also think that, something that Victor and Ren were able to do really well with the Samaritan using that 9-panel grid, which I think is kind of what we capitalized on panel 7, 8, and 9, is that you don't have to necessarily contain every single panel as a separate sequential piece of the story. And yet you were able to accomplish that with 7, 8, and 9 by showing, if we look at that, they're separate panels. It's one full story, basically, that there's this charge up, and you get to see so much emotion in each of the panels. But you can still connect them all together, kind of a classic trading card approach for comics or things like that.
Which is, I like doing that. And like, I did get that, I'm sure I saw that in a comic somewhere, but Victor is one of the people that pointed out to me, throwing that grid over a full image subconsciously makes your eyes stop to take in each section, even though it was a full page spread.
And to add to that, I fully expect when we get to panel 7, specifically panel 8, I know you've got the emotion in his face on panel 9. I want to see, in panel 8, I really want to see when we see like his chest and his arms, there should be so much energy and just, everything all tight and flexed up. And, you can tell that this is a very serious moment.
Right. Absolutely. That is going to be fun to do and challenging at the same time.
Right.
Because I'd use a lot of reference for the faces and stuff like that. So, and then the hard part about that too is kind of disconcerting or discerning what part of the body is going to show up in the costume and what not. I had that issue kind of yesterday working on Ted Segarora's character, the tap dance killer. I was really happy with the abdomen and the stomach and the waist, and then I drew like the faint lines, the gesture of the abs and stuff, and then came back to it, was like, oh man, I gotta draw these dang stripes on here. They gonna cover up my lines now. So trying to be in consideration of that too. Hotshot's costume's got a lot of black in it and deep blues. So it's always kind of a mission to figure out how much to show and what not to show, especially when I'm doing the line work and I end up liking the line work.
As John Robinson made a comment. He's still practicing the art of writing a good 9-panel grid. And my comment, definitely, reach out to Victor Dandridge and Ren McKenzie and pick their brain about their approach on, how they approach the 9-panel grid. I know that, at least from what I understand, there was some definitely room for creativity for Ren. I know Victor's very specific and very detailed in how he writes, and I've seen a lot of his scripts. But Ren definitely had the ability to be that artist and storyteller himself in those panels. So I'm sure they could give you some advice on what their experience was like.
Oh yeah, Ren and Victor killed those grids and those designs in Samaritan for those pages.
Yeah, I think the thing I really liked was what they were able to bring to the action panels. Not that the non-action scenes weren't entertaining, but I think you really get to see some of the creativity in some of those action panels, and how you can break through the grid, but still, follow the grid at the same time.
So, what's the challenge for you as an editor, being the editor-in-chief over so many titles?
Time, because there's not enough hours in the day. Now, I think that at first the first challenge, and all love and respect to Micah Cox, when we talk about Vigilance #2, the edits that we did for that. Micah, I think it's difficult, especially at the end of a process, to be so excited to see your work complete, and then have someone come through and go through an editorial process and kind of start to pick some things apart and really come in and weigh in on, look, at the end of the day, if we go this direction, I really think we can have a better product than what we had previously. So that was a little challenging, getting to work with some creatives that really don't want to, not that they don't want to hear the differences, but it can be difficult. Some writers, they believe in their product very well, and they stand behind what they've written and put together, and having to kind of go against that and deliver that difficult message. It's not always a fun conversation. But I think that was, I would say initially that was one of my challenges. Other than that would be, making sure, specifically at FSK is going to be, being involved with all of the titles to understand the overall story that we're trying to tell at FSK, and, the direction that we've talked about going, and really moving in more of a, this truly is, there's a reading order that we're now looking to start imposing and say, hey, we have a lot of titles. There's a lot of books to choose from. Here's the recommended reading order for all of those books. We've gone back and forth on what we believe is the best way to do that. And I think that, a really good point of that is, in my opinion, with as number of books as we have, I mean, we're sitting at, I should know this, is it 19 titles right now published? 19 finished books? We got
20.
the 20? All right, we're at 20. A really good example is my copy of the Hotshot trade. So I don't know if you can see here, but the page marks I've made for myself as we've gone through, anyone that's read Vigilance #3 understands that Vigilance, show it again here. Yeah, Vigilance #3, it overlaps with Hotshot #4 and Hotshot #5 at different times. And making sure that we're respecting.
Like we got a bit of a delay.
Our own, so that's another piece that I think is very different. So I've prided myself on trying to know the lore of Hotshot, of Vigilance, what has happened, where we want to take it, and to be able to say, well, if this is a good example, I think, is conversations that we've had recently in regards to some of what you're wanting to do with Hotshot, and what I've proposed, which is where eventually you got to, okay, fine, you're going to write Heroes International. Some of the things I definitely want to do with the Heroes International book, and some of the characters that overlap in those titles. So it's, working together, making sure that we're adhering to our own continuity, our own plans, making sure that we have a thought process together on the release schedule. Well, this issue of Hotshot needs to make sure this comes out before this issue. That's something we've talked about in the reading order. We've gone back through, and there's things that It's hard to take a step back and look at it as a person that doesn't know, but there's a good chance that there may be some spoilers if you read Vigilance 1 through 3 prior to reading Hotshot 1 through 6. So there's definitely a preferred reading order. No, Rin, I've got some really fun things I want to do with you, man. I think that you're gonna like it. I really can't wait to get to issue 6. Well, issue 5 and then issue 6 of Heroes International. I've got a lot of fun stuff that I want to do. I think that you're gonna like with some of the stuff going on with Human. For those that don't know, Rin hates Human on Heroes International. I'd say the other piece with the challenge of being an editor and being involved with as many books as there are is that I'm also included on some of that creative process and making sure that there's a line of there's a thinking that, or feeling that there's a better way to achieve this, or there's a better story, and not trying to impose that and kind of crush the creative process in the order of doing that.
So basically, there's a lot to weigh in with this decision-making stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, a good example is this issue of Hotshot and what I wanted to, my proposal of what we could do with Hotshot issue 10 into 11 and some of the stuff that we could set up. I had in my opinion, I had a great idea, but just because I had a great idea doesn't mean that's where we need to take it. And at the end of the day, you're the writer on that, and this is your story to tell. So it's not my place to impose my ideas on you of what I think may be a good idea or a fun way to tell this current issue or this story arc of Hotshot. I definitely feel comfortable enough to bring up the ideas, but knowing when not to try to draw that line in the sand and impose those ideas.
Well, yeah. So we went back and forth about that, and I think what you had for an idea was a good idea. But later on down the chute, because it actually creates the idea that Danny has, which we're not spoiling, creates a very, very good hero moment for Hotshot. That is, that could be on that anime Naruto, My Hero Academia moment or whatnot. And I think like the issue that I have with things too is, we want to get this content out. And we want to build up. I want to build up for those moments, so each of them, has time to breathe and be taken in. But it was a good idea. I will admit I took it wrong the first time he suggested. Like, what the hell you mean? Because at the end of the day, we're human, and I just finished all 4 scripts. And sent them over to Danny and was telling him all this. And then he was like, "Oh, but I got an idea. What about this?" And it was one of those big grand ideas. You're like, I just wrote 4 scripts, man. But sitting down and looking at what was actually being said and comparing it with what we had going on and how we could incorporate it at this time or at another time. That's a lot of stuff too to balance and understand.
Yeah, right. So I think that's a question back to you as being in a very unique position of founder, creator of FSK. Hotshot is the extension of you. How do you, or how hard is it for you to step back and not have that connection and control that you want to have and that type of thought process? Is it difficult? Do you find where you can give a little, like, all right, I'm going to give on this, or where you draw the line in the sand and say, absolutely not. This is Hotshot. Hotshot is Mike. This is what's happening.
We've done that before. We've been there before with that. And it has been a thing about trying to understand, like, all right, yeah, the character is based off me and, a certain point in my life or whatnot, but how much of the story can be changed up or, go in this direction and looking at that narrative. I think probably one of the biggest things that we did was, we stopped the original number 9 issue from coming out. And that's when I wrote the number 9 issue, because there were things that we were missing that we needed to bring back, not for the story, not for the character of Michael, but for the story of the Hotshot series. So I don't think we're afraid to make any edits or changes as per needed on here. Man, I love this dang thing. It's just because I'm just banging out these straight lines, man. I love it.
So what would you say so far or recently that you've been reading is going to have a big influence on the work you've done? I think I already know the answer to it, but the work that you've been doing recently, and especially some of the penciling here in the pages.
I don't know. So much stuff. Definitely My Hero Academia, and Excellence from Image Comics.
Okay. I know we were having a really good conversation about Excellence here recently.
Yeah, and Carrie, which is so great about that, Carrie Randolph is drawing Excellence, and I terrible with names. I can't remember the writer's name, but the writer is just as involved with that story as Carrie Randolph is, and you can see the difference between a project like Mosaic that's owned by Marvel Comics and trying to understand how much room did they have to breathe with this character and put life into it versus being a creator-owned project that they're releasing through Image and they're in control of all of it. Like, you can immediately tell the difference, and that is a type of level that I think and I want us to bring to our FSK books, is that you see those little nuances. Because once I read that scene with his grandmother fading him up with a haircut, and the dude's response when he saw the haircut, I said, "Oh, this is real. This is it." And it's little things like that I try to plug in to the book. Now I'm trying to figure out. I want to go to a page where we made a lot of editorial decisions, and I think it is page 6. So I'm going to show you guys the. Hey, Dan, can you pull up the script for the original page 6?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so this is the original page 6.
All right, here. All right, so this is the original one. Yeah, so we've got headquarters of tech genius billionaire Alex Remington. Panel 1, we see Alex Remington, which you can even see right away. You didn't follow what was here for panel 1. Alex Remington standing, hand on chin, in deep thought, looking at video screens, charts, and numbers. It says the images are different. Images of Hotshot from various battles. His lab is a wonderland of technology. And we got some dialogue that I'm going to skip over. Panel 2 is he's sitting and completely focused on all the images of Hotshot. We got Stan in the background staring at all the information, thinking, adding it all up. Again, more dialogue that I'm going to skip. Panel 3, we've got Remington's partner brings Remington a drink. 4, Stan takes over the monitor and pulls more info up. And I mean, you can already tell, I think, that you took some liberties, right away with doing some more storytelling. Again, kind of finding a way. Something that I think you've gotten really good at is finding a way to break the panel barriers and those borders, flowing into the next panels. Panel 5, AR sits back, and you got Remington sits back in his chair drinking a Monster and smiling. He feels he still needs more information. So, this was originally supposed to be 5 panels, and something didn't, I don't think either one of us were necessarily in love with some of this. And I know you went back and made even more changes. We talked about how really it was when you got into, it was the flow of panel 2 into, Remington standing there looking at the monitors to Remington sitting down. And it was kind of, so what happened? How did we get there? And I think it's when you went back and, adjusted the story a bit more there.
Let me see. So, yeah, that page ended up becoming this page now. And so that first panel, the first 2 panels stayed pretty much the way they are. But now I sandwiched those 2 panels together. And I've actually got Remington in this scene walking. Hold on. Why isn't that working? Okay. And I've actually got Remington walking this way to the chair. we flip the camera, which I'm still unsure about, with Remington sitting down, and his partner comes in and walks back in that direction. So trying something a little different, and I put the word balloons on here to kind of signal to Danny like maybe we can help guide your eye subconsciously with the word balloons that bring us back over here.
Yeah, so I think that this is a good example. We were both in agreement that although I think that we're definitely making improvements on the flow of this from, I really like the transition you now have from panel 2 into 3, 4, and 5. Not totally in love with what we've got right now for 6, 7, and 8.
Mm-hmm.
I think the finish of it's good, but we've got to tie this together a bit more because I think that you've got a camera flip on Remington in the last panel. Definitely feels weird because it feels like we're kind of imposing a change in flow of the page from right to left as opposed to the natural left to right. So we've got some work to do on this page, which reminds me, there's something I want to send you. I'm going to do that now. I actually had pulled up for this page that I think we can look into, and maybe we got some inspiration there. So I'm going to send that to you right now before I forget.
Yeah, so that one's still in work. But then we got this one, which I thought came out really good. Page 5. If we go to the original, page 5 here. So this one was supposed to be he wakes up from a dream. He's sweating, shirt soaked in sweat or whatnot.
Oh, and, yeah, this was another good one.
Then he wakes up. He gets up, actually, kind of takes a deep breath here. And then looks like we lost it for a second.
Yeah, it's back up on my end. Let me know if you're good.
It's stalled on my end, but it looks like it's still playing on Facebook and YouTube. All right, so
Facebook
he
just hit the
kind of gets up
spinning.
and throws his hand in his shoulder, in his head. And I can't hear you right now, Danny. I'm waiting for it to catch back up. Stands up, looks over at his costume, which is actually one full panel here. So this is him looking at his costume, which is actually here. So that's one whole panel right there that we have going on. Then we go outside of here. We got somebody in the shadows, and then he takes off, which leads us to another Danny Cooper exclusive page turn reveal. It is frozen up for a long time here on my StreamYard. So if you're saying something, Danny, I can't hear
you. Can you hear me now? We good now?
And I'm going to bring out the... And... All right, looks like we're back.
Okay,
can you say something now, Danny?
Yeah, you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, no.
Danny.
Yep. It definitely hates me right now.
No, Danny, can you log out and go back in?
StreamYard? You can't hear me to answer my question.
Yeah, and just come back in. So now we are on the edited page 5. And once Danny gets back in here, I want him to talk about this.
Can you hear me? I'm back.
Hey,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
All right. So I got the edited page 5, Danny, so you can take over on this one.
Yeah. All right. So actually, if you can, just go ahead and bring up the original page real quick.
All right.
Which, even in looking at this, I'll say that, and I'll address that when we get to the redone page.
Got it up.
Okay, so when we get to this page, I feel like not that there's anything wrong with the first panel, but it's kind of bland. And then we get, he's just laying in bed, and we see Hotshot, we see Mike sit up, and then Mike standing. And it kind of feels like a more choppy flow. It's not as sequential as I would like for it to be, and I feel like there's more opportunity to just make this stronger here. So go ahead and move over to the updated page.
All right, there we go.
All right, and I mean, and initially looking at it, the first thing I'll say, the thing I'm not entirely in love with, even when I look at it, is the first panel, and I feel like the direction of that first panel, I on one hand, I think it's much better, far more energy, not as much as kind of this blah page turn into this specific panel, but the direction of it seems a little off. So I think we'll play around with that a bit, and is this something that we can just do a real simple panel flip, and maybe that'll help us kind of get that motion. I like, what we moved into here is now we have more of a story and a lot more emotion in this manner, where it's like there's the initial, he's awake up out of bed, and then you kind of see that there's that initial recovery of like, whew, that was a pretty intense dream. Then the fall back in bed, like take the deep breath, try to recover. I feel like it's a better flow of story here than what we had initially. And then, like Mike said, we've got a pretty solid page turn. Where's Hotshot going? Where are we heading to? And also this mysterious shadowy figure in the lower left hand corner. Who's that?
Yes, now we don't know who that is. Why is panel 3
we don't.
Back down? Panel 3 is him laying back down, just as in taking it back in, like a recovery, just like, he kind of falls back and he's still contemplating. If you've been paying attention to the series, this mysterious silhouetted figure has been showing up since issue 7. So, yeah, we don't know who that is. Well, I mean, me and Danny know who that is. Y'all don't. We know. Veronica knows who it is too, but y'all don't. One of my other pages I'm really digging is this one. I don't think we did any editorial on this one. And I'm in love with that calf and foot. That calf and foot right there.
I think I remember you saying that when you sent me the layout.
I can't wait to draw that bad boy. Matter of fact, yeah. So this is an opening for what page is this? This is page 7.
So I think this is something that we've had a lot of a conversation about with page 7, and if you look at panel, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, panel 5, you maybe you can guess in the layout sketch there, and then
I don't mean to cut you off, Danny. We got a couple comments here.
Oh yeah.
CL says, not a fan of that small inset. I would skip it, but none of my business. Just a random dude with opinions. Are you talking about the inset on the previous page, CL? And Ren says, so I would like panel 4 better if he was sitting on the edge of the bed instead of all the way out of the bed.
Yeah, it's I get what you're saying, Ren. It's definitely a better transition than just being up.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I was while that was up, thinking maybe I can rearrange that a little bit. But so we're on to page 7, and you were saying, Danny? Oh, wait, let me again. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to see what CL's talking about. Oh, okay. You don't like the inset in 3. Okay. So here we are live right now. So this is kind of like a thing and this is just how Danny and I work. Again, so it's been maybe like a week or so since Danny looked at the pages or whatnot. Coming back to it with fresh eyes and actually getting some feedback from some other people. Potentially taking this panel out. Hold up.
Which was originally panel 1, right?
This was originally panel 1, yeah. Give me a second. I mean, you guys are seeing editorial happening live right now. So let's see what D Coop has to say about
this. I think what we have here is definitely an opportunity, taking CL's thoughts as well as Ren's. I think what we have an opportunity here is to actually make panel 2 a bit smaller. And what we might be able to do is get a new panel 3 of a silhouette of Mike just kind of sitting on the edge of his bed, and you can capture in the body language how the impact that this dream had on him.
Let's see what we come up with. Is my ink pen? No, that's not my ink pen. Straighten up that line.
Which page are we looking at again, Mike?
I think this is 5. Maybe.
Yeah, this is 5.
Layers are a person's best friends. Don't forget that.
Now, Kim, is it possible to get? I mean, the same type of a pose, but maybe more from an angle, giving us that direction down to the next row of panels, as opposed to a dead-on shot.
And that's why I sketch with my pencil all the way down.
You still there, Mike? Can you hear me? Or did you lose me again?
Nah.
Okay, cool.
And this is exactly how this process goes. We just spitball stuff. We'll leave it alone. We'll come back to it. See what sticks. It's like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks or whatnot.
I think it's also, it definitely captures and illustrates the importance of, not only going through doing your editorial, but taking a step back, taking time away, and coming back again to look at it again later.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that. I like that a tad bit, a lot more. Yeah, with the angle. So we got that going over there. We got the angle that's going to drive you right that way. It even got the path shadow in there. All right. So that was some live editorial work. Thanks for the help, co-editors. Let's see. I'm gonna go back up to working on this one. So I pitched the idea to Stephanie that I'm gonna have to tell you later, Danny, because I want to say it online for the ending to the next story arc in Vigilance.
Okay.
Yeah, gonna get a bit radical with it or whatnot. Oh wow! Oh, that's dope. I saw what Danny sent me. Oh shit! Shoot.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I feel like we might get some inspiration from that of exactly how to tackle that flow of the story.
Hmm. So we need to go back to black. See, I like what Ren has to say right here.
Yeah.
I want my copy of the book as payment for Dare, of course. Dare already gets copies of the book. CL says, showing him on the edge of the bed makes sense and shows the process of gathering himself before standing. Must have been a brutal dream. Yeah. I agree with you, man. I appreciate the feedback from Ren McKenzie and CL. So this page, I'm gonna have to get some feedback from other people on what brushes they're using.
So what did you use? I mean, I like the look of things on the panel that you were, not this one, but the one you were on before that. Was it panel 5?
Panel for this one?
Yeah. That one looks panel 5 looks cleaner. What brush did you use for that one? That reminds me more of your pencil work.
I was using this Narender pencil or whatever. I'm terrible at pronouncing stuff. I was using this pencil.
Ren's favorite cat has joined me on my lap. This is the one that decided to come and sit on your laptop, Ren, as soon as you set it on the table.
I think I did a combination of both these pencils.
Okay.
I think I was doing the HB pencil and I came back over top of the with the Nadir, or however you pronounce that, and that may have been what I was getting with it, and why it was taking me longer to do the page. So talk about your lettering style, D. Cooper.
I think that I don't know if I'd say I feel like I necessarily have a style on dialogue. I think it's pretty common stuff of you want to make sure that you're using your lettering to flow through the story correctly, making sure that adhering to things like if there's certain things that you actually want the reader to visually see before they actually read the dialogue or a caption, making sure those placements are accurate. But overall, being the reader's best friend and making sure that you don't take them out of the story, making sure you don't confuse them in the process. I get disappointed. It doesn't happen often, but every now and then reading a mainstream title, and the next thing you know, my cat is joining me again. The next thing you know, you get tripped up on the layout of the word balloons and how you're supposed to read through that, and to take a step back to understand that. I think the part that I enjoy the most, and it's a bit of a labor of love, is actually the sound effects in stories. And one of the things I really like to try to do is to have the opportunity to incorporate those sound effects as part of the artwork, and not necessarily have them where there's sound effects laid on the page and just there. I think sometimes that's what you have to do and it works. But other times I like to try to make it part of the artwork as much as I can. I've got a few moments that I'm particularly really proud of in Vigilance SU2, specifically in SU fights with Queen Mala and going through, and there's a big heavy hitting issue, and the opportunity to include them, flying through the sound effects and sound and things like that. I really enjoy doing stuff like that in it, not feeling like, I think letters is something that's definitely overlooked. When you have really good letters on a page, you overlook them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because again, the letters is something that should not take you out of the page. I think you pay more attention to them when you're a letterer, as to where, you're more critical over the quality and the presentation. But I think as just a general reader, I know I personally pay a lot more attention to the letters in general the shape of a balloon in mainstream books. I've seen mainstream books where it's like that balloon's not fully round. There's a point there, and I see it in every single balloon that they copy and pasted. Stuff I probably wouldn't have noticed, prior to taking on lettering. But that's the part I enjoy the most. Again, I don't know if I would initially say that I have a style. I think that when we talk about letters and styles and indie comics, I look at let me know, Ren. I would agree in the feelings mutual. Sir Ren said he would like to work with me soon. Victor has if anyone's read of any of Victor Dandridge's books, I think that he has a very unique style in the way he letters, and there's a very bubble feel to which the word balloons. There's a very rounded bubble feel to his letters, even down to the specific fonts that he likes to use. So I would say that I could tell immediately if I looked at a page, and I would know that that's something that Victor lettered. I don't necessarily think that that's something that would stand out if someone's looked at the pages I've done. Maybe at some point they'll be able to notice that, but hopefully when they look at them, they're not taken out of the story or kind of repulsed, like, oh, those are terrible. I know that there've been a few times, not everyone's strong at every single thing. When I was younger, I did a lot of drawing. I don't draw now, but I know there've been pages you've passed to me, Mike, and I'm like, just send me the I will put letters on there for you. Just send those to me without those, or give me the Photoshop copy, and I'll take it into Illustrator and fix it.
I know, like I'll do some letters on the page, like, because I don't want to bother Danny, because he letters like 4 books for us already, and then he's the editor in chief, and he's doing editorial work, and he's got his full-time gig at the same time. So I'm like, I'll just throw some letters on here, and I'll send it to Danny. Like, hey, here you go, this is done, and he's like, yeah, no, it's not. Send me the PSD.
That's more like, yeah, that's a nice layout. Give me the actual page so I can do it now. Yeah, it's and you always give me the disclaimer every time. It's like, I know these aren't your letters. And every time that's how it starts. Like, that's the disclaimer every single time, and that's how it starts.
Every time. Because Danny is a perfectionist when it comes to his letters, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it at all. And I think our letter work is very damn good on our books. I
definitely appreciate that. I go back to, I've looked at letters in certain books, and I'm like, oh, I don't like these at all that I've done. One that, one of the earliest books I lettered was Hotshot 5. And, I would love to re-letter the dialogue in that book, because I think I did the letters in Photoshop. And I've improved so much since then. I've settled on my point size that I like to use. There's a certain sizing, I'm a stickler when I feel like the point size is too large on letters. Your letters should be complementing the artwork, not distracting from it. And I've seen work where we're covering up way too much of the artwork because the balloons are huge and the point size is way too big, and so I've tried to find a balance in that to make sure that I'm not covering up or hiding too much of the artwork. But I really I'd say that's probably one of my favorite issues that I've lettered was issue 5 of Hotshot. There's just so much action in that book, and there were so many opportunities, like I've mentioned, to try to make the letters and sound effects part of the artwork. I'm really happy with what I was able to do with that. Not real happy with the balloons in that issue, but was pretty happy with the sound effects. Had a lot of fun, in other words.
I think my favorite one is when you did the zoom and Vigilance is like powering through the zoom at the same time, like with her foot. Yeah, that's one of my favorite tests.
Was this the in issue 5, or are you talking about Vigilance issue 2?
Vigilance issue 2.
I don't know if I did that on this one or not.
And then you made some real good like effect, like power effect sound effects as well too.
Yeah, I've sat on my computer and sounding stuff out like an idiot, trying to come up with what do I think that would sound like. I've even gone into you can find a lot of free use sound effects online, and I've gone in to listen to those and done my best at pretty basic listening, sounding it out and coming up with the best the best sound I can out of that. That's another thing, kind of flipping through this, I've noticed that I've tried to focus on as I do some of the sound effects is, complementing the colors that Veronica typically puts down on the page. And it depends. I see a lot of times with some pages, the letters are just kind of not a lot. You can see there's not a lot of thought that went into the color of the letters. They're just kind of there to pop out of the page better, but they're not really incorporated in it as much. And I try to take into account the color that Veronica's put on the page, so those sound effects become part of that artwork as well, and they're not clashing with the colors that are already there. Yeah, this one here is one of my personal favorites, the theme from if I can get it here in panel, the theme from issue 2. Yeah, that's one of my favorites, them crash landing and working that into working into that effect. So it's just trying to do that when possible. It's not always possible, but one of the things I enjoy the most.
Yeah, I think stopped trying to make sound effects. I just stopped trying to make them. I'm like, Danny got it covered. Once I saw the stuff that he was coming up with, I'm like, oh yeah, he got it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I enjoy the most is definitely the sound effects. It's one of the hardest pieces sometimes because you are sitting there trying to sound it out and make sure that you get the right sound captured. But I think the payoff can be nice. The other piece I like of doing letters is from the editorial stance is there's I feel like I have a bit of flexibility as the editor to come in and say, okay, when I start putting the letters on the page, that's our final chance to catch something. And you may run into, if we were to hire a letterer, it may just be a matter of letters on the page, boom, done. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're doing what you're paid to do, but wearing multiple hats while I'm doing letters gives me the opportunity to really ask questions outside of just what we're looking at on the page of just I got to put these letters on this page.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we got to the point where you're doing the editorial work. You're the editor-in-chief now. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But we are coming here to the end. See, yeah, I think I need to push through more with the pencil that I was using, or the brush rather. I'm pretty good with this. I still want to find one that tapers a little bit more. But I can't stay on it forever. I just need to go ahead and put the book out. Get the pages done.
Right.
I'm pretty happy with the process of where this is coming.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely got a lot of big stuff in the works that we're wanting to do across all the titles. I'm personally excited about what we've talked about doing with Heroes International. Stephanie's script for issue 4 of Vigilance is fantastic. Cannot wait to get to the point where we can actually see that come to fruition. And obviously this story arc on Hotshot is very personal to you. And, actually seeing that come to life as well is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm hoping everybody enjoys it, man. But yeah, this is something that I've been wanting, a story that I've been wanting to get into for a long time or whatnot. And I think the only person outside of the Gauntlet that I've told detailed context to about was Todd Dave. Todd Dave is a very, very big fan of the Freestyle Komics books, and I wanted to ding it off of him and see what he thought of it. And what was so funny is he really loved both our ideas for when you picked your idea, and he was like, "Well, dang," But the emotional context is what I really wanted to get his feel for, and he was definitely game for that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I remember sitting there when it was that at Hotshot Day 2019? Or I'm sorry, Freestyle Comics Day 2019?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. Which, oh shoot. Oh yeah. And I'm now more of me drawing on here. I'm realizing I want that tapered edge so I can do my line weights. That's what I
Okay.
want it for. Like I'm doing some line weights on this thing or whatnot, but I feel like with that tapered edge, I'd be able to get them more in there. All right, so D Coop, because we're coming to the end here. So you didn't tell me yet.
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure.
said outside
What?
of the gauntlet. Ren McKenzie, are you not part of the gauntlet?
you are.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, you're part of the gauntlet. I've told you. All right. So Danny, where can everybody find you at as we're coming to the end of this episode here?
Yeah, I don't push too much on social media. I mean, obviously Facebook, just under Danny Cooper. I've used the moniker the Office Geek, I think, on all other social media. But yeah, that's those are pretty much it. Office Geek, or just here is Danny Cooper on Facebook.
Awesome. Hey, and if somebody knows of a brush, I forgot. Get out of here. If somebody knows of a brush to do speed lines in Procreate, please let me know. Because I'm getting tired of doing these speed lines by hand.
And I'm sure the more My Hero you read, the more you want to do speed lines.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But I'd like to thank Danny Cooper, Editor-in-Chief, for being on the show with us. And I hope you enjoyed this special segment of kind of just how we do editorial work, how we draw comic books, how we look at them from the coloring, lettering, editing, drawing, layout aspect of it. This is what we do to bring what we think are high quality, well produced comic books. And you guys got any questions about that? You can always hit us up for that information. Kyron, thank you. I appreciate it. Kyron was on the show the other day. Drew his character XOB. That was really fun. So this is and in the short, I would say this is our reasoning of saying why you need an editor on your book.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the, it's you've got to be able to have someone you can trust, someone that is has the best interest of your product, what you're trying to do. That's the I've seen.
Well, it looks like the sound is still going through on Facebook.
There we go.
Oh, we lost.
Yeah,
All
we're
right, there
back.
we go. All right. Well, I apologize for technical issues. I don't know what that is, but I guess it's just because everyone's at home and they're online.
Yeah, it might be on my end, honestly, because I've got 3 kids doing school from home. I've got my wife works from home. I work from home. We're eating up a lot of bandwidth, so it might be causing some issues on my end.
And Ren McKenzie keeps saying he's mad at me, and we're going to find out soon why. Because he's going to do the most responsible thing that you could do with your anger. He's going to put it on Facebook. That's what he told me. So I wait in anticipation. But thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of Chat and Draw. Thank you to Danny Cooper for taking the time as Editor-in-Chief to come on here and have a full-blown editorial session with us live. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed it and appreciate the work that an editor and letterer can bring to your comic book. There are no more episodes except for there's our special episode we're doing Saturday, our bonus episode that I'll be doing with Sean Mack, operating director of Short Fuse Media, and we are going to be drawing Grit. So come one, come all, bring all your questions. This is going to be a great Q&A session with between him and I. And Chat and Draw will return with other guests next week, as I have Moana McAdams on the show next week. Yeah, looking forward to that one. And we got Chris Williams returning for not 1 but 2 episodes, as we'll be doing 2 characters for him as well. Dear Creative will be on this Sunday, and I'll have Henri on, and I cannot wait to do that episode because we are going to be talking mad gab about comic book conventions and all that goodness that we miss and can't wait to get back to. And I will be doing a special edition episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Nerdy Sunday night with my buddy, my pal, Midori Hannah, cosplayer, geek, gamer, extraordinaire, as we will be talking about the failures and what could have been with Marvel versus Capcom Infinite. One last plug.
Yeah.
You know I'm all about them. And the Sunday after that, I will be joined by The Gauntlet on Dear Creative, Victor Dandridge, Danny Cooper returns, and Ren McKenzie, as we have the Four Brothers segment that started 10 years ago at Wizard World Columbus. I know it wasn't 10 years ago, but it just feels like it's been 10 years. So
Yeah, when you hit us with the 10 years later, I was like, what was 10 years ago? This hasn't been that long.
It just sounds better. Oh. But again, subscribe to the channel, Dear Creative. We got tons of fun stuff on here. I can't wait to show you, and I will be announcing the contest to get the subscription rate up to the Dear Creative channel very, very soon. Thank you so much. Be sure to visit shortfusemediagroup.com for all your comic book needs, for merchandise, t-shirts, and action figures. So we got all that on the website, and we are having a good time. Everybody, good night.